Two old Cajuns nerding out.
What is up, guys? Welcome to Two Old Cajuns Nerd Out. My name is Bo, and this is my buddy John. And what are we going to be talking about today, John?
All right. Hello, Internet. Today will be very different from what we normally talk about, nerdy and out and stuff like that. If you join us for the first time, welcome. Two Old Cajuns Nerd Out, a podcast where friends reminisce, reflect, wax nostalgic about old things growing up and the past. But today, we're not looking at the past. Well, not so much. We're looking at serial killers.
Oh, yeah. One of my favorite subjects.
Yeah, this is a subject that's near and dear to my heart. I've read a lot of books and so many podcasts, so many documentaries and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
Countless on that. But this is actually requested by a friend of mine named Myra, who likes podcasts, and said we should try to dip our toe into a serial killer one. So what we did is just kind of each picked 5 randomly. Not like personal favorites or personal best or anything like that.
Yeah, just serial killers that
we want to talk about.
Yeah, that we wanted to talk about. And I went the more obscure way. I didn't want to pick like some of the more famous ones.
The playing card
killers. Yeah, like the playing card killers, like you want to call them. Yeah. So
mine, you probably heard of all of mine, but maybe something you haven't heard before, just with my level of over nerdiness of
right
the serial killer culture. So maybe we'll learn something today, but for me and you, and people that are listening. But today, we're talking about serial killers, spree killers, mass murderers, and the like. So we're going to jump into it right away. First question I'm going to ask for you. Do you think we're out of the golden era of serial killers?
I don't think you call it a golden era.
Well, there was a time when they were in their prime.
Well, they were in their
Definitely
prime.
in their prime.
I think we're
in the 70s. I want to say 70s, 80s. Sorry, 70s, 80s. A lot of people consider that like the most busiest time, or some of the most
prolific time. Yeah,
prolific.
Yeah. But no, I think it's harder for someone. I mean, because they're still out there, because they have you hear about some of them, but it's harder for them to do it because of social media, and everyone has a cell phone now, so they're constantly being tracked and stuff like that. I mean, look with that, what was that, like Gabby Petito, whatever? How long it took them to find her and her boyfriend's body, like after, like where they stopped, and they knew, hey, she was with you, and then he took himself out.
Definitely with her, and then like even like you said, you mentioned social media was a big part of that, because there was that family that was traveling, and they saw the van. Yeah, kind of narrowed down the area where to search.
Narrowed it down. Also, I mean, just a couple of years ago here in Louisiana, that Mickey Shunick.
Yeah, Mickey Shunick.
I mean, how that helped with finding her body and stuff. And it was so sad.
That's a great case if you haven't heard of that one and stuff. Mickey Shunick and stuff. And it's not a great case. None of them are great cases. But as for interesting and stuff like that, and just how fast like the police force and stuff like really narrowed that guy down and stuff.
Yeah, and how social media helped big time
with the traffic cameras and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but. So yeah, the biggest time, like the most predominant time, I think is kind of over, and a lot of things is, like you said, cell phones itself, the towers and stuff like being tracked everywhere, light cameras, like
the red light cameras.
They have the traffic. They even have the ones that do your license plates now that read your light plates.
Oh
and stuff.
And it's so, unless you take it off, it's so hard to block them.
Yeah, ring doorbells.
Yeah, ring doorbells.
You drive down somebody's street, somebody's gonna see you passing their house. CCTV everywhere. Internet, police are working together now. They used to not work together as much as they used to.
Right.
There was a breakdown of communication, a breakdown of just working together, period. So you see that a lot with some of the ones. One of the ones I will mention a lot, that was a big hindrance in that case.
Oh, yeah, and it helps a lot with them.
Yeah. The armchair detectives online, they're always figuring out stuff like when they had the Boston bombing. Like Reddit found those guys like almost instantly.
Oh, yeah, you got guys that will sit at their computer and for a couple hours and do more. I mean, it's nothing against police or detectives or anything like that, but they just have all the time in the world.
And they're looking at
they
different
sit
angles.
down, they're looking at different things, and they'll find out the person and point it out before the cops even figure it out.
Oh yeah.
And like I said, it's nothing against the cops or anything like that. They're doing their jobs with the resources they have. But when you got someone who all they do is sit behind
a couch,
on a couch behind a computer, that have all the time in the world, they can find someone real quick.
Oh yeah. I've went down the rabbit hole on some of those boards and stuff like that before. YouTube, kind of, sort of, but like sometimes it also hurts the cases. You have innocent people that are blamed.
Yeah. Because they popped up in more places than once where the person was supposedly seen and stuff
or
like that.
Or they're just the X, period.
Or the X, yeah.
Because it's always the X, first one. But true crime has a very large audience and a huge following. Channels dedicated to it. There's podcasts.
Oh, yeah.
Books.
My favorite is Parcast. I listen to them on Spotify.
That was a good one. Tonight, we will do the worst of the worst, best of the best, or whatever you want to call it. But 5 random ones from each one of us. In no particular order. We're talking about why they were infamous, why they think we're talking about today. And if we have any details on like their years active, body counts, and stuff like that, we'll mention as well. But why we picked him and her, how they got caught if we know their fate. 'Cause some of them might not be caught yet.
Yeah. Well, all of mine are caught or dead.
I think all of mine as well. Now, I do have, like I said, an unhealthy obsession with true crime. Now, make no mistake, though, these are the worst of the worst. These are like just the worst kind of monsters out there.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So, yeah, but...
Okay.
All right, man, if you want to go first.
Yeah, absolutely, and stuff like that. But again, I want to make no mistake, these are the worst of the worst. We don't admire or respect any of these people and stuff like that.
Oh, hell no.
So, I'm just going to jump in the deepest part of the pool right away. When you think of serial killers, few names come to mind. It has to be Ted Bundy.
Oh, yeah, Ted Bundy.
But what do you know about Ted? Like, when you think about Ted Bundy, what do you think about? 'Cause I've watched so many things about this.
Yeah, I've watched. It's so hard to think of things that would
or like some buzzwords that come out for Ted Bundy. If you're like kind of
Zac Efron, no.
No, that's one. That came to my mind. I think he did
he did a good job playing him.
And then certain lights, he freaking pretty good.
But trying to think of
some buzzwords I think about. Like people call him the handsome killer.
That
But I mean, when you compare him to the other serial killers out there, like Gacy and fucking Chikatilo and fucking Bundy, not Bundy, Dahmer. Who was the other one? The co-head killer.
Shit.
Anyway, some of these guys,
he's better looking than some of them.
Better looking these guys. So,
but if you look at
the Volkswagen, is always another
Volkswagen. Yeah.
The skies, like all the different man of a million faces and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, man, this dude, that dude was just crazy.
But yeah, Ted Bundy, acted pretty much through the 70s and stuff like that. That was one of his biggest things. Most of his killings went up to 1974. His method and stuff like that. He started off in a home of, they thought he was a product of incest.
Yeah.
With his mother and his father and stuff like that. His birth father is still not known and stuff like that with him. So he had a really messed up childhood. He thought his mom was his sister and everything growing up. He called his mom his sister for years.
Okay, that's kind
of. He thought his grandparents were his parents.
So it's one of those things where it could have been his grandfather was his actual.
Well, and then they also
dad,
say and they also say his grandfather was kind of evil. He would kill cats and stuff like that, and just other things like that. And him and Ted had a close connection and stuff like that. So who knows what he took him under his wing? God knows,
Yeah, he could have.
But we don't know. But
maybe he got away with murders that nobody knows about.
Well, there's murders that Ted Bundy said he would never confess to.
Oh yeah.
Before he died and stuff like that. Because some of the ones that were younger, I think with the younger victims, he had a lot more shame with.
Right. That's probably why he wouldn't want to confess to him.
Yeah, but most of his MO was brown hair co-eds and stuff like that with certain hairstyles. But his method was to feign like he was hurt, which is the scariest kind. So you have this good-looking guy comes up to you. He's got his arm in a cast. He's trying to load his stuff into his car and stuff like that. He's struggling. He asks you for help. You go to help him, smash you in the head with a tire iron.
Oh yeah.
You're in the car. Next thing you know, you're in the woods. Next thing you know, you're dead. Next thing you know, he's fucking your skull.
Right. Yeah, he was
a necrophilia. Crazy. Yeah, he definitely checks off all the boxes of pure monster.
Right.
But yeah, like I said, his method was to basically feign like he was hurt and stuff like that. That was how he got most of his victims. He had a VW Bug. That was his choice vehicle. He took it out the front seat, passenger seat.
Right.
He would get you in the car. He would handcuff you and then take you into the night. A couple people escaped, not many.
Right.
Bundy's also known for his escapes. Like he broke out of prison twice.
Oh yeah.
The first time he did, he basically talked him into letting him represent himself.
Right.
Which he did all the way through. because he did have a law background. Very smart man.
Oh yeah, he was a very smart man.
But he had access to the library and stuff in the courthouse, and he used that. And he jumped out like I think a second or third story window.
Right.
Fucked his ankle up, but he was
Still
out
got
for 2
away,
days.
yeah.
And then the next time he lost a lot of weight, so he was able to like worm his way through the vent and get out and stuff. Like
Yeah.
that. So that dude was determined, and but when he got caught the last time, he pretty much went down. Like he basically was like, "Yeah, I'm the most cold-blooded son of a bitch you ever meet."
Right.
He kind of said, "I'm like, oh yeah, you'll definitely need to look into us." And it was starting to come around, and he had just committed one of his most evil crimes, where he did like kill like 4 people in one night, where he bit that woman so bad, like he bit.
Oh yeah.
Fled, yeah. But the one thing about Bundy I want to talk about is just like he was so unexpected. Like there's people around him who knew him that thought he was up, but anybody else just seeing him on the street, no idea.
Right.
Like, he was like a chameleon. And he was involved in like the Republican Party and stuff like that and everything else.
Yeah, I heard about that one with the Republican
Worked at
Party.
a suicide hotline. The dude had a crazy like little time. And he was able to get away with it because like the police weren't talking. You know, jurisdictions weren't sharing. He would just move from state to state.
Right.
But the craziest thing about Bundy was like one was just his apparatus, like how he worked and stuff like that. But he would grab people in broad daylight, man. Like, and I think the craziest one is the one that took place in Florida. He grabbed a co-ed. I think her name was Georgina or George. They called her George. I might be wrong. I'm probably wrong. But he called her by her nickname. They say that's how he got her. But she was walking from one set of apartments to the other. Like literally, you could see her crossing this like parking lot, this area. She's going through like a little, and it was like 40 feet from the door. Somebody saw her coming, and the next thing she was gone. And they think like maybe he like heard because everybody would call her by her nickname. And I want to say it was George. I could be wrong. But
George or Georgie or something.
Yeah,
like that,
and like they say he must have like been kind of waiting and whispered her name, and she's like, "Huh?" And then like a fucking rattlesnake, dude.
Right.
So yeah, Ted Bundy. I think that's why there's been so many movies, so many things made about the man. It's just because he's. I'll say he's fascinating. It's fascinating.
It fascinates people like how his mind worked. Because
he had potential. Some of these guys have no chance to do anything else.
No. But he had potential to be like
a lawyer,
like you said, a lawyer, be something.
A Republican.
Yeah, something to help, like a senator or something like that. Well, I mean, some of these are crooked too, but yeah.
Let's see. Anything else? I think it's at the bottom. But yeah, that's why anytime I think about serial killers, I think when most people think about serial killers, they think about Ted Bundy.
Oh yeah.
So go ahead. What you got?
I got these two. There was a couple together. It was they were called the Sunset Strip Killers. And it's Doug Clark and Carol Bundy. Another Bundy.
See,
yeah. Geez. And well, Carol actually died in prison in 2003, and Doug Clark just died in October of 23 in prison. But they he was a necrophile as well. She doesn't say anything if she did anything, but their MO was mostly young prostitutes and teenage runaways, and he would decapitate them and keep their severed heads as mementos.
Like
and
Dahmer and Bundy.
Yeah, and he would also perform sex acts on their corpses. And I mean, but he had a.
That was all in his home.
This was throughout. Let's see.
I was just curious, like I know Bundy would take him way out into the mountains for that kind of stuff. I was just wondering, like, man.
Yeah.
And Dahmer did that in his house.
In their home, in their apartment. Wow. And it would happen. I mean, it just happened at different times. I guess they would clean up and find a way to hide the heads and the smell, I guess. But yeah, and he had a regular, like, normal childhood. He was a military brat, so I mean, that's one way. I mean, he later claimed he lived in 37 countries because of his dad's job and stuff like that. But I mean, he graduated and he enlisted in the Air Force, and I mean, it's just weird that
what about
she had a troubled childhood. Both her parents were abusive alcoholics, and her mother died when she was a child, and her father sexually abused her starting at 11. Yeah, so she was kind of the messed up one.
Yeah, he might have been depressive.
Yeah.
and suspect to like influence and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Same thing with like Columbine. One of those kids was super depressed. One of those kids was super evil. You put those two together and you have
So. But when she was 17, she married a 56-year-old man.
Wow.
And
good for him.
Yeah, and she met Doug Clark at the age of 37 when she had just escaped her third marriage from an abusive man.
Oh, so
And-
she was just
Yeah.
a broken woman, man.
Yeah, so she was definitely broken, and so they started murdering. They murdered co-eds and stuff like that. They found the John Robert Murray. It was a 45-year-old man. They found his decomposing body in a van parked on blocks.
Wow.
Just a couple of miles away from his home. Suffered stab wounds, and he was partially decapitated.
Holy shit.
But yeah, their spree ran from. They were apprehended in 1980, but their spree ran from. I'm trying to see exactly how long their spree ran. It was all in 1980, from what I'm looking at. It started.
80s.
Yeah, it started in 1980 and ended in 81.
So not
They
long.
discovered one in 81, so they added that onto them because I guess they
Sound like
admitted to it.
Yeah, they're probably going pretty fast.
Oh yeah, and so they were going, and like I said, they were known as the Sunset Strip Killers.
Sunset Strip Killers. I hadn't heard.
But yeah, I mean they and here's one of the things it says they've moved in together pretty quick, and they found out they shared dark sexual fantasies. So she might have been a necrophile too.
Well, she's
And-
probably been submitted through so much
Oh, yeah.
freaking sadism with, like, being
Right.
sexually abused.
Yeah.
And if he's got like a freaking dark, and then she just submits.
Oh yeah, definitely. And
Mhm.
so it shows that that she died in prison due to heart failure, and he died in prison due to
Blunt force trauma.
natural causes.
Oh.
Surprisingly, usually something like that, they would some people would
Depends on your
actually-
victims.
Yeah. Well, she according to the arrest records and all that, she only had, it says 2+ victims, so they were only able to. They
Fine.
know she probably did more, but they were only be able to pin 2 on her. But he had 6+ victims, so
Yeah.
they were able to pin 6 on him. So yeah, that's Doug Clark and Carol Bundy,
All right.
another Bundy, and another necrophile.
Yeah, Bundy, man. All right, so next one I have is another famous one. You probably heard of this guy before. His name is Dennis Rader.
Dennis Rader. I've heard of the name. I'm not.
BTK.
Oh, the BTK killer. Yeah, I know that.
Yeah,
Compared
the BTK
to-
killer. He's
yeah.
considered. A lot of people consider him the most hated killer of all time and stuff like that.
Right.
He's got a very punchable face for one thing,
Oh yeah.
but he's very arrogant as shit, man. Like, if you ever watched his confession, he's literally getting off.
Oh
on it.
yeah.
But his BTK stands for bind, torture, kill.
Kill. Yeah.
And the one thing about Dennis Rader and stuff like that, he doesn't have a messed up background.
No.
Like, he had a normal childhood. He was married. He had kids. He had a family. He had a job. He worked for ADT, and he was actually a dog catcher and stuff like that. But
Oh, holy crap.
yeah, he was a mean dog catcher. He like killed some woman's dog and was very.
Well, I mean, that's usually what
he was
killers.
very
I mean,
sadistic.
yeah.
He was like tickets. He very what you call it, little man with power. But he's active from 1974 to 1991.
oh, wow.
But he took a hiatus in between that. But basically, his thing, he was very meticulous. He would stalk. He would plan, and he was known for killing men and women and children and stuff like that. Also taking crazy pictures of himself, the
Right.
doll masks and stuff like that, and keeping souvenirs, underwear, clothing, licenses of the victims he killed.
Oh damn.
And that was kind of how he got caught, because he left nothing behind. He was so meticulous at the time, and the way to catch him was so small with the technology and what they had,
Yeah.
that he slipped through.
And
But-
not the police department's not working with each other and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
And then come find out, in the 90s, they start writing articles about the BTK killer. Like, is he dead? Is he in jail? Same thing with they did with the Zodiac killer.
Right.
He's probably dead, long dead now.
Yeah,
or
now.
in jail. But they're doing the same thing with BTK. Is he dead? Is he in jail? Is he quit?
Right.
And he was like, "Fuck it, I love this." He wrote a letter into the newspaper. No, I'm still here. And he basically taunted them. He even sent a copy of a license that he still had to prove that it was him. So then the police were like, "Oh, we'll check." So he started playing cat and mouse with the police, and he thought he was the biggest man, he
Yeah.
was the smartest guy in the room. Not
Until it
knowing
caught
how
up
much
to him.
technology
Yeah.
has changed.
Yeah. Technology's changed, man.
Yeah. Got caught by a floppy disk. A
Floppy disk.
He sent a floppy disk in with all of his rants and raves and stuff like that, and they were able to trace it back to the computer that it was used.
Oh, what a dumbass.
But serial
I
killer
forgot that's how he got caught.
working at a church.
Hey,
And
sometimes.
his his family's been kind of weird. His daughter's pretty much like disowned them and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, I mean,
but I don't know. Yeah, I'm telling you, if like you've never seen his confession and stuff like that, that's the image of evil right there.
Yeah.
BTK, man, Dennis Rader. But he would take his kid. He was in the Boy Scouts too, and he would take his kid out on Boy Scout trips. And sometimes he would break away at night to go do some crazy shit in the woods with himself, or he would go out. He got to the point where he'd eventually go out and start killing. So, yep.
Could you imagine finding that out? Like you sent your kid with like Boy Scout stuff, and their scoutmaster was the one that ended up being a serial killer.
Yeah. Well, can you imagine that if you were it was your fucking dad?
Right?
Yeah,
Shit.
like even worse because he was taking his kids. His kid was a part of that. So yeah. Anyway, I think BTK is one of the most scary ones of all time, just because he was just
how arrogant he was.
Arrogant was, and how evil was. He was
yeah.
ridiculous, and it was all a process, about for him to get off.
Yeah.
On this and so that, and yeah, that's the crazy.
And it shows that he knew his way around certain things. He could have just like Bundy. He could have did something else with his life.
I don't know.
But he was just pure evil.
Oh yeah.
But yeah.
All right. So that's my second.
All right. My second is Sean Vincent Gillis.
Sean Vincent Gillis. That sounds very familiar.
Yeah. He was a serial killer from '94, and he got caught in 2004 around Baton Rouge.
Baton Rouge. That's why.
Yeah,
they were
confusing. They were confusing him, and like they were finding some of his victims around the same time they were finding some of Derek Todd Lee's victims.
Oh, Derek Todd Lee. That also sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll hear about him.
Yeah, and they were.
I remember when this was going on.
And they were so close that they didn't know if they were chasing one person or two Like their MOs are so close, they didn't know if they were chasing one person or two people. So Gillis was born in Baton Rouge in '62. In fact, his birthday was just on what's today, the 25th?
Yep.
His birthday was yesterday.
Oh.
Yeah.
Rotten hell.
Yeah. Well, no, he's still alive.
Damn. One day you'll rotten hell.
Yeah, one day he'll rot in hell. His father abandoned the family soon after he was born, and he was raised by his mother and grandparents. And by the time he was 17, his rap sheet started growing from small minor infractions through the years. He was arrested for DUI, possession of marijuana, contempt of court, but he committed his first murder in '94, so 30 years ago.
Mm.
And his first victim was Ann Bryan. She was 81 years old.
Holy shit.
And he didn't choose by age or anything like that. 81, his next victim was 5 years later, and she was 29. That was Catherine Ann Hall. And then just 4 months later was a 52-year-old. And then 6 months later was, well, actually not 6 months. Yes,
so he had
6 months.
He had a gap between his first one.
Yeah, he had a big gap between his first, and then he started rolling. He had a 36-year-old, Joyce Williams, and 2000 was a 52-year-old in January 2000 in October. So sometimes he'd go a couple of months, sometimes he'd go 10 months, and the biggest gap was that 5 years. And then from October 2000, there was a 38-year-old Marilyn Nevels. He went 3 years, almost 3 years, with a 45-year-old Johnny May Williams in 2003, and then February 26, 2004, his last victim, Donna Bennett Johnson.
Yeah.
He got caught in April. So
I remember kind of how he got a little bit about he got caught. The DNA was in his car or something like that.
Yeah, I think let's see.
But I'm interested while you're looking that up. I'm really be interested in why he had such gaps.
Sometimes
in jobs, sometimes they're in jail. They get arrested and stuff like that. It's just interesting because I can see him taking the first one, but then he took another one 3 years later. That's interesting.
Yeah, what he did, they caught him by his tires because the tires he had were only manufactured for 3-year period.
That's how they caught the Colonel Russell Williams.
Yeah,
that's a dude we want to talk about too.
And only 90 tires were purchased.
Fuck, man.
That had been made in the Baton Rouge area.
That's why you got to say, I want the most generic tire you have.
Oh, yeah.
What is everybody driving?
What's everybody using?
Give me some bald tires.
But my thing is, it doesn't say if he got married or anything like that. I'm trying to see, but
they're really, really scary ones. They, depending on how this episode goes and what people think about it, if we ever do it again, like the Gilgo Beach Killer, that one's going on right now. Russ Hilberman, whatever.
Yeah.
See, we pay attention.
But from the podcast I've listened to, a lot of they talk to therapists and things like that and psychiatrists, and they say usually when there's a break between, they find something that gets it out of their head, like a job or a life or family and stuff like that, or jail.
Yeah.
They go through a time where they're in jail. It doesn't say that's why he didn't have it, but it could have been
settled down and had a family and stuff like that. Like the only reason he came back is because he was basically called out.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. Same
yeah,
thing.
if they wouldn't have said anything, he'd probably lived until he died.
Yeah. Well, that's crazy that you say that, because a serial killer that could almost get away and live until they die without being caught and being so prolific would be interesting. So the one I'm going to talk about next, Golden State Killer.
Golden State Killer. All right.
Golden State Killer, also known as the East Area Rapist, the original Night Stalker, the Visalia Ransacker, the Creekbed Killer, and the Diamond Knot Killer.
Oh, God damn. He got a lot of names.
He has like one or two more, but those are the most prolific ones.
Right.
But Joseph James D'Angelo, born 1945. Also close to Ted Bundy. I think they were born in the same year. Active from 1974 to 1986. He had 13 murders, 51 rapes, 120 burglars.
Damn.
Yeah, if you've never heard about this guy and stuff like that, like, this dude is terrifying. Basically, he would break into houses beforehand, like weeks before, and move shit around. Sometimes he'd break in houses and drop off stuff from other houses and just switch them.
What the?
And you'd find shit and you'd be like, "What the fuck?" You'd be freaking out. You'd be like, "I think someone was in my house."
This isn't my remote.
but he was doing that kind of shit, and then like he would like, some people would catch on, or you start getting the phone calls before,
right?
And then he would hit. But he was active. He would basically break into houses and stuff like that. And when women were alone, he would rape them, and then he would eat their food. He would eat food and stuff. He'd do weird shit. He'd eat food. He would ask for money and stuff like that. Usually never take anything. Ask for medication, not take it and stuff like that. But he would tie him up in diamond knots, and that's how I got the diamond knot killer. And that's a Navy knot and stuff like that. So they were like, he's military, he's Navy and stuff like that.
Right.
Well, it got really big and he was in Visalia doing that shit, and then like basically like it got kind of big, so he moved down. It could be backwards, but he moved to a different location in the East area. And when he was there, they had a press conference and stuff like that talking about him. And some man came out, and some man in the press conference said, "This dude is a coward. The only reason he's attacking women is because they're alone. He would never attack a house with a man in it." He started attacking a house with men in it.
No, God.
And including that house with that man. I want to say he got that one. But
that wouldn't surprise me.
What he would do with this, he would go in the same way. He would break in, fucking balls crazy, go into these houses and stuff like that. He would wake him up. You'd wake up with a flashlight in your face, and he had a gun or a knife pointed at you, usually a gun. And he would be pantsless. When you see this little man standing in your doorway, pantsless. Always described as muscular, clean shaven, small penis. That's a lot of descriptions for him. But he had this really gravelly voice and stuff like that. He'd be like, "Get on the floor," like he would tell him shit. But he would make the men get on the floor and tie them up, and he'd put plates on their back. And he said, "If I hear a plate fall, I'm murdering her."
Oh wow.
I can do what I want, and I'll be out of the house. But if you try to make a move, you try to do something, I'm gonna kill everyone else in this house. And like if one of these plates falls. And that's what he would do to the men. He would humiliate them and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
And
because he was humiliated because he had a small penis?
I think so. Yeah. But some of the other things they had, like they were trying to catch him, and they found a car. They found some homework on the ground next to some tire tracks, and they had a description of the car. So they were looking at the different cars, and somebody at a gas station kept saying that at night, this one guy kept coming in at night, and they think it's the guy. So the cops did a stakeout on this gas station, and they had everybody in the coolers and stuff hanging out, waiting for them to come in. And eventually the phone rang that night when they were doing a stakeout, and the guy that was working there answered the phone. And it was him. He's like, "Oh, I talked to the pigs in the back."
Oh shit!
And they're like, "Fuck!" And they started thinking maybe he's a cop, but he's definitely attending the meetings and stuff. Right. Like that. And yeah, he was a cop.
Oh shit!
But he got arrested and fired for stealing dog mace, dog repellent,
right,
and some tools and stuff like that. So, but he would feed the dogs weeks in advance, sometimes days and weeks in advance, stuff like that, to get friendly with them and stuff before.
Right.
I mean, he would do crazy shit, man. He had that whole area on lockdown, terrifying, and he would call these women after he raped them and stuff like that.
I think I've listened to that podcast. The Golden State.
Golden State Killer.
Yeah.
Now he was caught like 2 or 3 years ago by DNA finally, and not even his DNA really. It was his DNA he had left behind, but it was a genealogy like 21andMe and stuff.
23, the 23andMe,
They were able to like find one of his relatives and then narrow it down the age, and then start observing him, and then get a DNA swab from him, and like.
Now that you say it, I did listen to that podcast, and dude, like, yeah, he was terrifying.
Yeah.
But you also gotta look at it. Yeah, your dog could be mean as hell to anybody, but that person starts giving them food. Oh, they'll love him.
That's right.
And that's how. Yeah, he played that right with the dogs.
But he got caught. But like the thing is, they're observing him. He's an older man now. He's old. He's retired. You know? But the day before they caught him, he was driving his Harley like full speed down the highway and shit like that. But you can watch the videos when they arrested him. He's all decrepit and all old.
Right.
And then like they were just trying to show you, like, if you watch his trial, he got convicted. He admitted. He apologized, which that doesn't mean anything for this. But I think it was the prosecutor after said, like, don't believe anything this man says. This man has lied to everyone all his life.
Right.
Fakes. And then they showed a video of his jail cell. And that motherfucker's doing pull-ups and shit.
Yeah.
And like push-ups and stuff like that. And they're like, yeah.
He's trying to be all decrepit. Yeah.
Exactly. So he was always, even in prison, he's still playing the game.
Oh, yeah.
So he's still wearing the mask.
He's smart. And, I mean, he knew the way to get around it because he was a cop.
Yeah. I mean, he knew a lot of things.
Yeah, he knew a lot. But, yeah.
Yeah. And he was in that time period where, like, there was no cameras. I mean, he wasn't getting caught in, like, all these traffic cameras like we were talking about earlier. Yeah. But anyway, Golden State Killer, fucking terrifying.
All right. Well, before I go on with my other one, my wife just texted me. So remember that song, "Come My Lady, Come My Lady"?
Yes.
Yeah, lead singer just died. Crazy Town.
Oh yeah. I knew that. I heard that. Actually, I heard that earlier today.
Yeah, he died. Like, what the hell? But all right. So my
that's
next
the only
one.
song we have. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yes.
So my next one is the Baton Rouge serial killer, which we talked about him. You mentioned it, Derek Todd Lee.
Derek Todd Lee.
Yeah. So he was active for about 2 years before Sean Gillis. And he got caught a year before Sean Gillis. So his last kill was in March of 2003, or it might have been February because he got caught in March due to DNA and stuff like that. But hell, like even in the 90s, like DNA wasn't being used as much as they thought it could be. But I mean,
not until like 97 it really came prolific because it bombed in the OJ trial.
Yeah. And then you got
it didn't bomb, but nobody understood it.
Yeah. But he got he had 7+ kills, like murders and stuff like that. And his MO was mainly women. Let's see.
Yeah, and he was like, the profile they made for him was completely backwards. I remember about the Derek Todd Lee. They thought it was
because he was initially overlooked by the police because they incorrectly believed the killer was white.
Yes.
And he was linked by DNA tests to the death of 7 women in Baton Rouge and Lafayette areas in Louisiana. In 2004, he was convicted in separate trials of the murders of Geraldine DeSoto and Charlotte Murray Pace, and it resulted in the death penalty. Unfortunately, he was not killed in prison. He died of heart failure at 47, so he can rot in hell. But yeah, some newspapers suggest he's responsible for other unsolved murders in the area, but the police lack DNA evidence to prove anything else. So that's why they say it could be more. And it says, after Lee's arrest, it was discovered that another serial killer, Sean Vincent Gillis, was operating in the Baton Rouge area during the same time as Lee. And I mean, his methods, they varied for each murder, but between the crimes, similarities between her was removal of cell phones, then the victim's belongings, and lack of any visible signs of forced entry. So he knew how to talk to women.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially when they have like the no forced entry and stuff like that. And apparently 2 of them would the Whiskey Bay exit on the
that's where they found Mickey Shoe's
that's
bike.
where they found her bike. They used that. He would use that. That's where 2 bodies were discovered, and that's about 30 miles from Baton Rouge.
Yeah,
and
it's about 20 miles from where we're at now.
Yeah, and it's as a result of inaccurate FBI offender profile and erroneous eyewitness accounts. Police originally believed that the killer to be white, therefore administered thousands of DNA tests to Caucasian men in and around the area, but not to black men or African American men or anyone of color. And that's, I mean, it's one of those things where you just look at it like.
Well, I remember what was going on vaguely and stuff like that. I think I was like,
yeah, because I was still in high school, so I really wasn't listening to much like that. This one, the Diane Alexander one, because it happened so close to home, St. Martin Parish.
Yeah.
He broke into her. He entered her home in July, and he beat her severely and attempted to rape her. And she's the only known survivor. And she survived because her son walked into the home during everything, and he left out the back door in a hurry. Wow. So she is lucky her son showed up. I remember hearing about that one. Yeah. But yeah, he
was a monster. He had people around here scared. I remember that for sure.
Oh yeah, dude. It was crazy. And also they had
I just remember my mom and them hearing her talking stuff like that and saying not to stop for police officers and shit like that. Because they thought he was a cop.
And then in early 2003, because you know how Louisiana is. I mean, there's other places that do that too, but you know Louisiana's big for spreading rumors and shit like that. They started out that in 2003, an urban legend began to circulate that he was using tapes of sounds of babies crying to lure victims to the door. And they were quick to deny that information.
That's scary as fuck, though.
Yeah, but that would be, I mean, to be honest, I mean, that would suggest why they were showing no forced entry.
Yeah, that's scary as hell, man.
Yeah, because once they open the door, you hear baby crying. Yeah, you're forcing the door open, but he's not breaking in.
Right.
So, but it's one of those things where
grab you with a Apollo hook.
Oh yeah, but man, he was. I mean,
that's scary.
Yeah, he was. It's weird because I mean that's one of those things where nowadays I don't think they just rely on someone saying, "Oh, it's white, black, Indian, stuff like that." Now they're just like, "No, what does the DNA suggest? Let's go and test everybody."
Yeah, because even race and stuff, you can say someone's a certain race and you could be completely wrong.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you know? Yeah.
I mean, because hell, I mean, my dad's so dark that whenever he was younger, working in the sun, he'd get even darker. Some of his workers, the workers' wives, were like, "I thought you worked with all white men," and they were like, "We do," and they were like, "No, he's black," and they point to my dad because that's how dark my dad would get.
Jeez.
Yeah, and so you can't just rely on race. My little brother looks Hispanic, but he's white.
He does.
So
he does.
It's one of those things.
Explaining to do there.
So yeah, that's Derek Todd Lee. Who's your next one?
Derek Todd Lee. My next one is H.H. Holmes.
H.H. Holmes. I've heard of that one.
Yeah, H.H. Holmes. Dr. Henry Howard Holmes, or Herman Webster Mugget. Dude had a badass mustache and an awesome hat, but he was known as mostly for his murder hotel.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but he was active between 1891 and 1894. Died in 1896 by execution when he was caught. But the big thing about him is he was a swindler, a con man, horse thief. He would get into like marriages with women, drain everything they have, and like leave them and stuff like that.
Yes, that's where I've heard of him. Yes, I remember.
But he wound up getting his hands on a hotel in Chicago and stuff like that. And this is right during the time of the World's Fair of 1893.
Yeah,
the big old thing and stuff like that. So he had people from all over the world coming in there, and he had this hotel with like freaking trap doors, chutes that went to like rooms full of poison. Shoes that went to the basement where he would dismember you and stuff like that.
So like Sweeney Todd shit.
Exactly like Sweeney Todd thing. He's inspired a lot of stuff like that. But yeah, he's only been confirmed for one victim though. Right. He's suspected for 20 to up to 200.
Damn.
Yeah.
Like 22. Damn. That's a lot.
But him and his other he had an accomplice that was possibly still alive. Well, was still alive when he died. Benjamin Pitzel, he's been long dead.
Oh yeah.
But he had also killed several together. A lot of his mistresses and stuff like that were done by him. But they were supposed to. I don't know. He has murder castle and stuff like that. If you ever see like the pictures of it, there's some like blueprints of it. I'll probably get a picture of it to show you. But it won't do any good for anybody listening.
Right.
But they showed some like the designs because it was burnt down.
Right.
But some of like the chutes and some of the crazy rooms and stuff in there, terrifying stuff like that. They were supposed to make a movie out of him called Devil in the White City. With possibly Leonardo DiCaprio playing it. That's based on a book, which is the name of the book, Devil in the White City. It's fucking fascinating.
I think I heard about them talking about that. Yeah.
But I've read it. But yeah, H.H. Holmes. I think it's like Mousetrap and murder. You know.
Right.
You don't really ever hear about like secret passages and slide trap doors.
Not at all.
So he definitely catches your attention, and he just looks crazy because it was like almost the old west had just ended and stuff like that was ending. So, but he still had that kind of old western kind of
that old mustache.
Yeah, there's the murder hotel.
Oh,
wow. All the trap doors. They go into the furnaces and the fire. They got the morgue at the bottom.
Crap.
He even had a room where he could like open the little thing and watch you and stuff like that.
Watch you suffering and shit.
Like Scooby-Doo shit.
Like Jigsaw shit too. Yeah.
Jigsaw, yeah, a lot of stuff like that. Saw, like a lot of stuff like that. They all like Ed Gein, some of that crazy shit like that.
Wow.
They all take something a little bit, probably from H.H. Holmes, but anytime he's the originator of the freaking murder trap house.
That's crazy. I mean, it's scary to think that you just trying out there going to enjoy the World's Fair and you saying, hey, this nice hotel, all of a sudden you just fall through a trap door into a room full of poison or some shit. Yeah, it's crazy. Man.
But yeah, he either wanted their money or like he was. Everybody was an opportunity for him. But awesome comment. But that's why, like I said, it's not the most prolific and not the biggest body count confirmed.
Right.
But one of the more fucking interesting ones.
Oh yeah, sure. Man,
that's H.H. Holmes in a nutshell.
All right. So this next one, it's a female. She was actually from born around in my hometown of St. Martinville.
Holy moly! Let's hear about this.
Yeah, and she was born in 1894, and apparently she confessed.
You said 1894, right?
1894, okay. Yes, and she confessed to over 35 murders.
35 murders? I've never heard of this person.
Yeah, 35 murders in a span of a year.
So yeah, go ahead, tell me more about this.
All right. So her name was Clementine Barnabet.
Oh.
And she was a serial killer who was convicted of killing one person and confessed to have killed as many as 35. However, doubt has since been cast in her involvement, but she still confessed to him. So her father, she had 3 brothers, and her father reportedly abused her whole family. And they moved from St. Martinville to Lafayette in 1909.
To Lafayette, so, man. I wish they had...
So 2 years before she started killing. So they had a railroad line running through Louisiana and Texas, which there still is some areas that you can see the old tracks and stuff like that. And a minimum of 12 African American families were murdered in their homes within that year. And it all occurred at night with an axe used to fracture the skulls of the victims.
Wow.
Only person that was ever punished for these homicides was Clementine Barnabet.
So I think it was more than one?
As far as, from what they thought, it was more than one, but she confessed to all of them. And it wasn't a race crime because she was a black woman as well.
Right.
But yeah, they had first arrested her father on the suspicion of murder, and 4 people that had been killed start the first murder, but he was released because there was no evidence.
That's crazy.
But he was rearrested later and ultimately convicted of the murders. But they both tested her and her brother. One of her brothers, his name was Zephyrin. That's the only one. Testified against him, claiming he had returned home with bloodline clothes, even though she was the one that supposedly did the killing.
Holy crap.
But that's MO for some people.
Yeah.
So he was in prison, and they were held in custody. The axe murders of the family continued to cast doubt on their involvement. And then she was arrested again, and she confessed. Like a year later, she confessed to the 35 murders. And she was released from prison after an unspecified surgical operation was believed to have cured her. It wasn't a lobotomy, which was unknown to the United States at that time, but they actually believed that she was behind their terrible. Someone said that if they actually believed that she was behind these terrible murders, they would have never released her from jail. She was turned loose so soon because the authorities didn't believe her story either. It's from what they're saying. But she stuck to until she died. She died that same year in 23.
And how old was she when she did this?
She was. Let's see. She was born in 1894, so 11. So she was about 17.
Holy shit.
Yeah, when 17, 18. Yeah, she was.
Wow. All right.
I mean, she was crazy, but that's Clementine Barnaby.
Clementine Barnaby. I never heard of that one. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's awesome. Definitely.
All I did was search Louisiana serial killers.
Okay. So my next one is one guy, but he had a partner, Leonard Lake.
Leonard Lake. Okay.
You ever heard of Leonard Lake?
Did he have a specific name?
No.
No.
Leonard Thomas Lake, also known as Leonard Hill. He had a lot of aliases, actually.
Right.
Leonard Blake, Andre Day, Tom Myers, Jim Blight, Ted White, Steve. Charles Gunner, Donald Lake, Randy Jacobson, Robin Stapley, and Paul Costner.
Oh, damn.
So yeah, he had quite a few names. But yeah, Leonard Lake teamed up. He met this guy named Charles Ng. They basically met through a survivalist magazine.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, when those were really big and stuff like that.
Right.
And Ng had basically escaped from prison. He had weapons convictions, stuff like that, from ex-military and stuff like that. But Ng, this young Asian guy, looked up to Charles as like a fatherly figure, stuff like that.
Now that you mentioned the young Asian guy, I think I did hear about him.
Yeah. Well, basically, they got a remote cabin. They had swindled and stuff like that. That was like about 150 miles away from San Francisco, out in the woods. And they killed the family that was next door to them, and they would lure people out there and kill them. They killed 11 people, but they were suspected up to 25.
Oh, damn.
And the thing is, whenever they raided the complex and stuff like that, they found an underground complex, and were taking women and trying to turn them. There's it's a book that he was obsessed with. I want to say is no, it's something about it. You hold a girl prisoner and stuff like that until it turns into a butterfly. It's like she turns like to want you, whatever.
Oh,
but
kind of like Stockholm syndrome and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. That's what they were doing. But they had these women that were like literally they had secret rooms in this bunker that was buried and stuff like that. And they had these women in this room, and they would basically like you were stuck in this thing and you were their sex slave, and until they were done with you, and you couldn't make eye contact. They had a whole list of rules, and they had videotapes that were found and everything stuff. It was a really sick place. Some really fucked up shit.
I think
Found bodies in the barrels and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Now the crazy thing is, when Charles was caught, they were caught from stealing tools and stuff like that. But this time
something so small. But
yeah. When he was caught and they were interrogating him and stuff like that, in his shirt collar, he had a cyanide capsule, and he took it out and ate it. He wrote down a confession of everything. He wrote down and confessed to everything he did, and he swallowed the cyanide capsule. He died a couple days later from the. But
from the
once he
cyanide,
took it, he was done. Like they didn't get nothing else out after that. But in their place, when they did like there's a lot of footage of inside their bunker and stuff like that, which is really wild. But like on the door frames, in most of the rooms, they had like a cyanide capsule in case they got raided or caught.
Right.
They always had one nearby they could grab and kill themselves.
Holy crap.
Yeah, so really fucked up. Charles Ng and Leonard Lake and stuff like that. There's been some pretty good documentaries and information about them. I think the last podcast I left did a really good job, but they brought a lot of humor to it, but they did a really good job covering that case as well. And it definitely caught my attention, stuck with me. One, just the sadistic killing. Two, the kidnapping and basically trying to brainwash people into
to love them.
Yeah, it's really fucked up. So
it is. I think. Did they also keep them? I think, like I said, if it's the one I'm thinking of, did they like have them like the multiple girls at once? They were like trapped in hole, like a big hole.
No,
it was a different one.
I think they just had like one at a time. Now okay. Bundy had a thing where he did. We didn't mention him earlier, but I forgot that was one case where he had kidnapped a girl on the beach,
right.
Took her to his house, like raped her for hours, tortured her,
wow.
Then tied her up. Then he went out and got another, and then brought this one back and did the same thing in front of the other one that was tied up, just so she could watch. And then he killed them both.
Wow.
But that's kind of what you're thinking of.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's a lot of serial killers. I'm going to name just a couple other ones that I didn't talk about today.
Right.
So if we ever do some more of these might be some names that we talk about.
Oh, yeah.
Gacy, Dahmer, Andre Chikatilo.
Chikatilo, man, he was rough.
The Gray Man.
Gray, yeah.
Dennis Nilsen.
I think I've heard of him.
Dennis Nilsen was a homosexual man who basically he wanted to keep his lovers with him.
Yeah.
Kind of like Dahmer, and he would try to keep the bodies and stuff like that, and he'd put them underneath his floorboards and take them out and sleep with them.
Right.
Yeah, and then it got to the point where it got so bad he started flushing it down the toilet.
Yeah.
Pieces of it down. Yeah.
But it's there's besides the ones you constantly hear about, like Dahmer, Bundy, stuff like that.
Some of the ones, everyone you talked about, I'm local.
Yeah.
So I've heard of.
But like some of the names that you constantly hear, so they stick with you. You don't constantly hear about him, but it's just that name, Chikatilo.
Oh yeah.
That sticks with you. That once you hear about him, you can forget about it. But as soon as you hear that name, you're like, "Holy crap!"
That's the boogeyman.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely if we do another one again, one of us will be covering Andre Chikatilo.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
So my last one, kind of hits close to home for me.
Oh, here we go.
It's not a Louisiana one.
Oh, okay.
But he has my last name.
Sure, you want to give that away?
Yeah,
Right.
I'll give it. I don't care.
All right.
It's William Bonin.
Bonin, okay.
Yeah, or Bonin, since he was from
I was
California.
like, if somebody's not here and it's probably Bonin.
Bonin, yeah. And so he was born in Connecticut. And I see, even my daughter looked at this and was like, "Are you sure we're not related? Because he has our ears."
Uh-oh.
Yeah, like he looked at the picture and stuff. I'll show you after. But so he was known as the Freeway Killer, but he was one of many freeway killers.
There's been a few, yeah.
And also the Freeway Strangler. And he was a sex offender. He raped, tortured, murdered young men and boys between 1968 and June 1980.
See,
in Southern California.
Just because I'm gonna forget about it later.
Yeah.
We do also too. We'll do the Hillside Strangler,
right,
and the Candyman.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
So he generally operated by luring his victims into a van under the pretense of having consensual sex. He became known as a freeway killer because most of his victims' bodies were discovered beside freeways. But yeah, he had an accomplice. His name was Vernon Butts.
Vernon Butts, all right.
Yeah, so you got, or like one of the guys, most people say Bonin. French, if you're French like me, you say Bonin. But when I lived in Texas, my old manager always called me Bonin. So you got Bonin and Butts. There you go. But his accomplice, whenever they got caught, he was accomplice for 12 murders. He committed suicide before the trial in 1982. So he had 2 trials. One took place in Los Angeles County and the other in Orange County. And he's described by the prosecutor at his first trial as the most arch-evil person who ever existed.
Wow.
He spent 14 years on death row before his execution by lethal injection at San Quentin. It was done in 1996. So yeah, he was killed in 1996 by lethal injection. He had, let's see, it's right here.
Boys to Men.
Yeah, but he had 14 conviction, 21 confirmed, like 14 convicted kills, 21 confirmed, but 22 to 36 suspected. Plus. And that span of the crime is 19. Well, actually, it said 68, so he started, but the span of his most of his kills, May 28th, 1979, and his last one was June 2nd, 1980. He was caught June 11th. Yeah, that's a lot in the span of a year.
That's like one a month. More than one a month.
And he got caught June 11th.
Wow.
And he was in prison in San Quentin. And but yeah, he had mediocre grades. His family faced the prospects of foreclosure, and his mom kicked their father out of the home. She won custody of the kids, and they reconciled, but he was off once his dad got another job. Once he was offered a lucrative job. So he moved around a lot. He had an intense interest in pedophilia by the time he was a teenager. So yeah, he was one of those. He dropped out of high school. He began molesting several neighborhood children. And his mother refused to acknowledge it.
Oh.
She knew it was happening, but
she enabled it
because she refused to acknowledge it. And he was very antisocial. So yeah, he also got engaged, and he was also in the Air Force as well. And then that's when everything just started. He underwent psychiatric evaluations, and he was determined to be a sexual psychopath.
Holy shit. Yeah, I hear that also.
It's crazy, man.
I'm gonna look more into that. That's a crazy one.
Yeah, he's like I said, he had a lot. And he, like I said, it was mainly men and boys that he did murder. I'm not quite sure. I read into it a lot, but listening to the podcast on him,
yeah, I know.
It was never like women.
Yeah.
But they had some freeway killers that would, like another one that was called the freeway killer.
There was another freeway killers. And
Yeah.
like the hillside stranglers. Those were all women.
Yeah.
The co-ed killer, which is the one I was thinking of earlier, that was all women on the highway too.
Yeah. And it's just been like, it was crazy.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And it just stuck with me because, like I said, he had my last name. It was just like, I can't. One person to become famous with the last name is a damn serial killer.
Hey, mine's singer for Slipknot.
Yeah, but it's just crazy, man. It's all these like serial killers, like you said, like we said at the beginning. They still exist because there's probably some that have been killing for years that
definitely.
none of their victims have been discovered yet.
They just found with that too. Yeah. They're that good. They're just missing.
Right.
Yeah, people are just missing. And then there's ones that haven't been caught yet because like that guy they just caught, the Goodwill Beach killer.
Yeah.
They just caught that dude.
Right. He'd been killing for years.
So there's a lot of like cases out there that might be linked to somebody sooner or later.
Oh, yeah.
Stuff like that. It's unsolved. But anyway.
But yeah, I mean, so if y'all want to hear more about serial killers, if you want us to look up more and talk about them, and we can get more in depth into them,
absolutely.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. Just let us know down in the comments, and
any serial killers that you want to see, put in the comments as well, and then we can look them up.
Yeah, we can look them up. So, what are some places they can find you, man?
You can find me on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Instagram. Search for Cajun Toy Review. That's with a Cajun with a C. Cajun Toy Review. You can find me on there. Also, you can find me on Twitch. I've been doing streaming on Twitch and stuff like that. If you want to join me on there, just look for Retro Digital. It's one word on there. I'm trying to do that a little bit more too, stuff like that as well. So, if you have a Twitch account, definitely give me a look up. And you, Mr. Bo, where they can find you?
They can find me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and even Twitch and YouTube. Just search The Cajun Towboater, and that's Cajun with a K. Kajun, The Cajun Towboater. And, I mean, I do different things on all of those. I'm trying to get more into streaming. With my job, it is kind of hard to do that, working 28 and 14, which is why
What did you say you do?
I don't know what. I guess I'm a towboater. No, but yeah, with my job at working 28 and 14, which is why sometimes our podcasts go a little far in between. But we like doing these for y'all, and
and we're gonna do it regardless because we want to sit down and hang out.
We sit down and hang out and have fun. We just shoot. This is shooting the shit, especially talking about stuff that interests us.
Yeah, so it's a lot of fun for us. But yeah, again, join us next time because next time we're gonna be talking about life at the dawn of the internet.
Oh yes.
So like, what was like when we first discovered the internet? Like, not the dawn of it to us. Like when like AOL came out.
When we first discovered, when it became into the because the internet was before it was brought into the homes.
Right.
They had the internet.
But we're talking about at home when everybody was starting to get online for the first time.
Like when we first heard you've got mail.
Exactly.
Welcome.
That's the time we're going to talk about. So if you want to, also if this comments anything about that you want to post or tell us about the dawn of the internet, you go ahead and put it in this, and then we'll look at it before the next episode comes out. So anyway, thank you so much, guys, for listening.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it if you made it this far. You're awesome. Thank you so much. See you guys next time.
All right, y'all have a good day, and see y'all next time.
Thanks again.